Hey everyone, and welcome to today's pre-recorded live stream. So we are on YouTube. Me right now, I am pre-recording this video, but I am live in the chat. So you can hop over there and ask questions if you want. If you're watching this after the live stream portion, you can just leave a comment below and I'd be happy to answer questions there as we go through the video. Today's focus is Canvas, in particular Canvas for purely online classes. So one thing we're hearing and one thing we're seeing is that students don't always know where to go, and parents don't always know where to go either. When you first start a Canvas class, it's really busy. The menu is enormous. Everyone's homepage is different. Your expectations are different. If you're loading the assignments page itself, you got to stop doing that because it's not really evident where to go. So today I'm going to walk through some simple steps, some simple actions you can take when you get your course to clean it up, to make it more usable and friendly to those students. Now, some of these things we're going to be talking about are accessibility related for SPED or EL, and to make sure that your class is as easy to navigate for anyone who jumps in. You as the practitioner, as the teacher, you can set up a way for this class to really kind of direct students where they need to be at any given point. There are some things you can do to relax some of that to allow them to go different places, but really we're looking at when I am a new student in Canvas or when I'm in a new course in Canvas, what are some things you as a teacher can do to really limit the number of questions you're going to get on how to navigate the class, or to really remove that excuse of I don't know where to go, I didn't know what to do. So I've got a sample page here. This is a course in the student view. So this is what it would look like when a student signs in. So I've got a page here with just daily work. I've got a very, very minimal menu over here on the left, and I'll talk about that. My contact right here at the start. We have an announcement over on the right, and I'm going to kind of talk through some of the things that you can do, and we'll also look at an assignment. What are some things you can do to make sure that assignment is as easy as possible for that student to not only access, but to participate in? So let's jump in. I'm going to leave student view and get back into my teacher side, and we'll actually build some of the course as we go. Now, our first recommendation is to clean up this menu over here on the left. You can see I've got all of these visibility icons showing that none of these pages are visible for students, and that's very specific. I'm doing this mainly because I want my students to access material as I scope it out or as I play it out. You might have also noticed that this page loaded really quickly. So first tip is to not load modules and not load assignments as your homepage. The modules and assignments are it's called querying. It's polling your course to get everything all in one place. And if a student's on a slower network connection, that page can take a long time to load. And you also know if you have a lot of assignments, they're going to be scrolling forever trying to find a due date or an assignment title. That's not helpful. If you have a lot of modules, they may need to collapse or open a bunch of different modules to figure out where they need to be, and that's not really helpful either. The most accessible place for students to access material when they start your class is on a page. I don't want them going to my modules. I can still structure in modules. You can still build a course out that way, and you can still modify your assignments. But really, I want my students to go to the page, the home page, or my calendar if you're using the calendar, and then go from there to wherever I have them going. So let's clean up this menu. In your course, if you're following along, go to Settings. And we have a blog post on how to do this as well. It was written by Aaron Hartman, and it's actually... I'm sorry, not this one. It wasn't written by Aaron Hartman. We've got another one by Aaron Hartman I'm going to mention later. But let's clean up the navigation first. So in Settings, there's a navigation tab here at the top. I'm going to go to Navigation. And when you open the class, everything is turned on. What we're saying to do is turn everything off. And I would recommend turning off everything except for announcements, because a lot of you are using announcements day to day to get students what they need to do, and that's totally fine. So leave those on. Students do want to check their grades, so leave that on. And if you're syncing your grades, you have to keep grade sync on. Now notice students don't see grade sync, but for your grades to go to PowerSchool overnight, that menu option has to be on for you as a teacher. I've turned everything else off because I can send my students to a module from a link on my homepage. I can send my students to a quiz. I can send them to an assignment. But when I have all of those options turned on and my assignment or my homepage just says go to today's work, where do I go for that? As a student, I need some direction. So we would suggest turning everything off. If you're a math teacher, you might want to turn on your Discovery Ed link. That will get them into Discovery Ed assignments. If you're history, you want to turn on your Connect Ed stuff. This is your McGraw-Hill book. So you can turn those on as you need them. But for the most part, 90% of the staff, those three links will get your students wherever they need to go quickly. without having them guess around about, do I need to be in a module for this, or do I go to my assignments, or where do I go? So that's kind of step number one, is clean up your navigation as much as you can. You want to get rid of anything you're never going to have them touch. The second thing we would suggest is when you start a Canvas course, it defaults to modules as the homepage. And I already said a minute ago, if you have a lot of modules, it's going to be a really long time loading if they're on their phone or an iPad that's hotspotting. We got to assume that we have a slow internet connection. So I want to make sure this first page load is really, really fast. The way to do that is to use a page as your homepage. Now, I'm on my homepage in the course. You can go to Choose Homepage on the right. And when you click on Choose Homepage, there are several options here. Not many people are using the syllabus. And again, I wouldn't recommend this because this takes every assignment and attaches it to a date. So there's still a lot of scrolling. You don't want to do assignments list because there's no way to organize it. And modules, again, take a long time. The activity stream is just a stream. It's more of a social thing, in my opinion. I never put this as the homepage. I'm going to use a page's front page. And you can set that from here. But before we set that page, let's go and look at our pages. So I'm going to jump over to pages. Now this one here is kind of a daily work template. I've got two templates here and it loads first. You can see I've already set it as the front page. I'll come back to that. But here's one example of how you can use a page to get students information they need right away. So I put my contact information up here at the top. So my name, my email address, if you have a phone or an office number you would like them to be able to contact, it's helpful to have this because when they jump into the class, boom, it's right there. They don't have to go hunt for that information. This page is set up to have daily work. All I did was I created a table with 2 rows and 2 columns. On the left side, I'm going to put today's daily work. If you're using a Google Meet to check in, you could throw your code in there. Remember, the codes are the way to go. You don't want to give a link because students can always jump back into that one. So if you're setting a password or a code, you can put that link here or that code here for your day. And then I have a do now, some kind of assignment that's going to link directly to that assignment. And we'll look at how I set up the assignment in just a minute. Notice we've got some bold here, so it's easy to see. We're looking for those visual cues. So bolded text, again, bolded text, I have a check-in, and then I can jump down in using bulleted lists strategically. Use the built-in bullets rather than a dash because it will indent appropriately, and you can really outline that day for your students. On this page, I also threw in a Spanish translation. So this is for if I have a lot of level 1 students, this is a really easy way to help them access your material without having to jump around a lot. So that's one way you can do your template. And then to get another day, you would copy and paste and then fill in your information again. So it turns into a stream, but it's just plain text. There's nothing dynamic to load about it. You could create pages per month where your calendar is kind of a scrolling month view. You could do it by chapter or unit where each day is a block in that unit. There's some ways you could break it up so I don't have 180 of these blocks in one mega page. You can break it up that way. Notice I'm also putting the current date on the top. So it's the first thing they see and they can go backwards to get what they need if they need another one. Now, there's another view that seems to work really well for some teachers, so I'm going to show you that as well. I called this one the calendar template. And this calendar still uses a table. I still have my contact information up here at the top, but now I've got a day-to-day calendar, Monday through Friday, and same kind of things. You can link out to an individual assignment. You can put other reminders here. I've got bold red text. You could use a background highlight maybe to make it a little bit more apparent. But you could lay out a calendar ahead of time and then add links as you go. So this is looking at how are my students accessing content outside of my individual class period. So we would really recommend giving them a chunk of content ahead of time and making things accessible as they're ready. So if I'm a student and I have a job or I'm taking care of siblings, I can look at my week and say, all right, I have got one assignment due on Monday. There's a quiz on Friday, so I have to schedule some time. So we're building that executive functioning in here. Also for mom and dad. Or whoever's with them at home, if they're rearranging schedules or helping kids plan and get things ready, they can look at this calendar view and they can figure out their schedule based on your class. If they know what's coming ahead of time, they're more able to access that material in a timely fashion. They can't open the quiz yet because it's not linked. The quiz menu is hidden over here on the left along with my assignments. There's no way for them to get to that material. You can also use a due date or an available from date on that assignment to keep it locked down, but they still have the benefit of knowing what is coming up ahead of time. So you can build a page for each month. Same thing. All I would do is copy my table, or I can duplicate the page. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Change the month, fill in my new dates, and boom, I'm ready to go. It's really, really minimal effort on your side. It does change your planning a little bit. We can't just dump stuff out there. But by you doing this, your students are then more able to access that material. It's more accessible to them. There's less worry about what do I do today kind of thing. It's plain and simple right here, and your job is to add the links in. So let's look at that right now. How do I manage this as a teacher? If I go back to view all pages, actually, you know what? I'm going to keep working on this calendar template. The daily work one, you copy and paste the table. Let's look at this calendar because I'm missing my link here. So I'm going to go to edit. And when the page loads, I've got it right here. So if I was making a new page, or if I was getting January ready, just change the title and change your dates. I want to link this assignment. The easiest way to do that is to highlight whatever text you want. Remember, simple language, like short sentences, simple terms. It doesn't need to be the whole assignment right here because I can do that on the assignment page. And then over here on my right, and if you're on a small screen, it may be down at the bottom of the screen, under assignments, I can click on the assignment and it adds the link to my calendar. Now, I may also want to add a visual cue where I can make it bold. So I'm going to come up and click on the bold. I don't need to fuss around too much with it. But the idea is that I'm using those visual cues to help students kind of keep track of what's going on. I'm not going to add a link to a quiz right now because I don't want them to access it right now. You also have other things over here. If you wanted to link back to a previous calendar, you do have pages here you can link to. You can link to your discussions or whatever you want them to do. And when I hit save, it will update that page. And now my student view is ready. So today is Monday the 7th. I can click on my assignments and I know I have a quiz coming up on Friday. You as the teacher, you add that link later during the week. So that's what home pages could be. Now, once you've decided what's your page, you can manage them a little bit. So I'm going to go to view all pages. Now there's two tricks that make your life a lot easier. If I'm prepping another month, I'm getting January, February ready, I can come over to my three-dot menu and do duplicate. And that will make a copy of my template. And I can now go in and fill in my specifics. So if you keep a blank copy, even keep it unpublished, then you can make a new copy for each month as you're ready to go. When I'm ready to set my home page, I've decided that I'm going to use my calendar template. I'm going to come over to my three-dot menu, and I'm going to say use as front page. So now that is the default. If I go back to my home screen of the course, my calendar will be the first thing my students see, nice and clean. My contact is here. Today is the 7th. I have an assignment. I click and I'm off. When you are building out month to month, it's great because now that I have a page set as my home page, to flip it to another month, all I have to do is go into my pages menu and click use as front page, and boom, my home page updates. My students are able to get in and get going right with whatever they need to do. So that's kind of the long look at recommendation number 2. So we've cleaned up our navigation. Notice you don't even have to have pages turned on over here. They just log in and it shows them a page. Number 2, don't use modules, don't use assignments, don't use anything weird. I would use a page and pick some kind of clean layout to minimize the scrolling. So if you're doing it daily, keep it month to month or unit to unit. If you're going to do this monthly view, this calendar view, just change your month after each month so it's the first thing they see. Whichever style you do, you want to link out to your assignments or your modules or however you're structuring that course so that they don't have to jump around on their own trying to hunt for what they want. Tip number 3, we're going to open an assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this assignment. Tip number 3 is embed everything and use different text styles. So here's what my assignment looks like. I've got a large version of my video, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. I'm using large text that will scope out what they're doing for this assignment. and I'm using short sentences, I could probably replace a couple of these words. Maybe if I'm thinking about my SPED or my EL in particular, I could just say, watch the video below. It's a much simpler sentence than embedded. This might be a word that throws them off. You could also throw in a Spanish translation here if you want to. And you can use text, you could use italicized text maybe below it to give that, that lower, so EL0, EL1, give them some kind of quick access. And then it's very simple. It's all here on one page. In Student View, I can hit Submit Assignment, keep the video on the screen, and begin typing my questions down below. So how did I do this? I'm going to edit my page. I'm going to edit my assignment. In the text area, you can change the style and size of your text. Where it says paragraph right here, this is the style of text for that given section. So watch first is called header 2. If I click on this, if you've never played with this, you can kind of use these menus to differentiate out what students are doing. It draws their attention. So if you're using sequencing, first, second, third, or do now, do later, turn in, you can use any of those cues using text to help draw student attention to what you want them to see. The second thing that I want to recommend is for this video, instead of doing the Canvas just a YouTube link and it puts a really tiny screen in there, what I would recommend, and I'll show you how I do this, I'm going to get rid of that. I can paste a YouTube video in here and it gives me a little preview and it will replace it with the little preview window. I want to keep that video nice and big. I want them to be able to see it without having to click and expand and load another thing. So I'm going to click on Insert Edit Media. This is the one with the play button. And we're going to use the embed code. Now I've already copied the embed code, but if you go to YouTube, let's do this real quick. It's worth doing. So I'm going to jump to the Instructional Tech YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed here, we are posting content regularly. This video is on YouTube. You can get reminders about when things are happening. So make sure you subscribe here if you haven't before. And I'm going to open this video. I'm going to pause it so it doesn't muddy up my sound. And as I scroll down in the share menu, there's an embed code. If I click on this embed, it's the one with the 2 brackets. You get a little snippet over here. You don't have to know what any of this does, but I'm going to copy it. So it's a couple extra clicks for you. I can just grab the link and drop it into Canvas, but that gives you, again, that tiny little preview. I want a nice big one. So once I have that code, I'm going to click on my Insert Edit, click on Embed, and I'm going to paste all that text here. And now I hit OK. And that gives me the nice big player here that my students can then watch without having to change their screen. This is big enough to see and listen to while they're looking at the questions down below. And I hit save, and now my assignment is ready to go. I didn't show it, but your links on the right are also available. My suggestion would be to keep everything, anything that they might need, in this view as much as you can. Now that doesn't always work if they're recording or if they're looking at a document or they have to go and research something. If you're sending them to web pages, always link that web page. Don't tell them to Google something and search for it because that's just more on their end. We're trying to lower that executive processing that has to happen to complete the task. So keep everything embedded here. You can link to other pages. You can link to other resources using the menus for Canvas on the right. And again, some things you could do to make it a little bit easier to navigate is if you're linking it, bold that link. So highlight the text, put a little bold on there so they know to click on that thing. Again, as a student, I don't have to see that assignments view. All I really need to be able to do is come to my course and click on my links for the day. So I'm going to go to student view again so we can kind of see what this looks like from their side. So again, contact here. I'll talk about announcements in just a moment. So today's the 7th. I'm going to come in. I'm going to click on my assignment, and it takes me right to my assignment. I've got my video nice and big right here. I can see my questions. So again, if I'm just getting my day ready, I can plan it out. When I click on submit, it pulls me down here to my text entry. I've got my questions. One thing you could teach your students to do is to copy this text and paste it into their template. And now when they come in, they can do their responses here while they're listening to the video. So we're trying to make it as clean as possible for them. The last thing I'm going to show you, I kept announcements turned on because we're using announcements frequently to communicate with kids. So I'm going to go to my announcements, and if it's on as a student, I can go in and see, all right, did I miss one for today? Do I need to look at a past one? We can take a chunk of these and put them on the homepage as well. So to do that, I'm going to go to my course settings. And this is buried in your settings. So you're going to go to course details and go all the way to the bottom. Under more options, I'm going to click on show recent announcements on the course homepage, and you can set a number of announcements. So I'm going to show 2 of them. And now I'm going to update my course. That will save my changes. And now when I go back to the homepage, there's going to be a new section at the top. So anytime a student logs in, these announcements are loaded. It takes a view of that announcements menu and drops it right here. So as a student, I can see the last 2 announcements from me, the teacher. You can set that number up to 10, but that's going to then bump everything down below. So you have to play it a little bit and kind of see what works well. You can also prompt them to go back over here to the announcements menu. And again, this isn't a great example. I would give the date on here for my announcement. The posted on is over here, but if it's nice and big here, today's work or Monday's work or whatever you want to do, that's easy for them to see. So that's it. There are a lot of other things we can do, and we'll get into those at some other time. But really, we're trying to we want to show you some ways you can try and combat that. I didn't know what to do when students are looking at your course. So let's review. Make your menu as simple as possible. Use a page as a homepage rather than a modules list or an assignments list. Pick a style. You've got the calendar view here or that day-to-day work there. And then maybe throw your announcements on the homepage as well. Now, to make this even easier, we're actually going to pre-populate all of your semester 2 courses with these 2 pages templates, as well as the menu cleaned up. Now, you can still import whatever you want. So if you have a homepage system that you really like, that's totally fine. Really what we're trying to do is make it easy for those of you who are kind of jumping around with different styles to just take one of these and make it your own. So your semester 2 course will be populated with this structure. You can still import your content, remove it, whatever, but at least that way you have the templates. You don't have to go hunt for them in the commons. You don't have to share one from between each other. Thanks for watching along with us today. We hope these tips were helpful. We have a lot of other videos on Canvas. We have some blog posts on Canvas. All of that is linked below. Let us know in the comments if you have questions or feedback or things you want to see still. We're checking a lot of different places. So get in touch with us. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay in touch. Thanks.